and welcome to Series 3, Episode 3 of In Suspense, a podcast and vodcast for fans and writers of crime fiction. I'm Leslie Cara and my co-host is Lauren North.
Hello.
Now, on our last show, we chatted to two guests. It was really good fun. We chatted to Nikki Smith and T.M. Logan, or was it Philip Schofield? You'll have to watch that one to find out. No, it was T.M. Logan. I'm only joking. And we talked about having your novel optioned for the screen, and it was really interesting. It was some good discussion points came up from that one. So if you haven't yet caught it, do tune in, and I think you might find some interesting things in that one. So yeah, we had some great fun, didn't we, Laurie?
Yes, we did, and we enjoyed it so much, in fact, that we are doing the same again today with two amazing guests. But before we introduce them and talk about our topic, I think I'd love to know, and I'm sure our listeners would like to just catch up on what's been happening for the last 2 weeks. These weeks just fly by, don't they? What we were up to, because we met in real life, didn't we?
We did. We had a brilliant time. We met our writing pal Jack Jordan, didn't we, in glorious Dedham, and it was a lovely sunny day. A bit chilly, but
It was
it was a
cold,
lovely
yeah.
sunny day. In fact, Laurie, you were very sensible because you were wearing a lovely thick quilted coat, and Jack and I were. Jack was in a shirt, wasn't he? A corduroy shirt, and I was in my leather jacket.
Oh,
But I thought I'm determined.
I had jacket envy though. Your jacket was gorgeous. I'm surprised you left with it. I was trying to nick it off you as you were leaving.
Well, I was determined to wear it because I bought it last year for sort of doing some events and just, because I've always wanted a nice leather jacket and I've not been able to wear it once. So I thought I'm definitely going to wear that jacket, whatever the weather's like. But no, it was really good fun. We had a lovely time. And do you know what I found in my handbag the other day? You'll never guess. I found the rest of that pink Bakewell tart.
Oh, tasty.
Yes, I'm afraid I had to throw it away. Laurie bought me a lovely Bakewell tart and a coffee, and she didn't let me feed the last bit to Rodney, her dog. And actually, I wish that I had now because it's been wasted. I had to throw it away.
Well,
So
it was only because he'd nicked so much of mine. In fact, I had that last mouthful here ready to eat, didn't he? And his face just came in and got it, little monkey. No, it was
it's
great
really
fun.
funny. It's really funny when you're eating and a dog is watching you because they sit so still, don't they? As if they daren't let that bit of cake out of their sight because as soon as it drops, it's theirs.
Yes. So, Leslie, how are you and how's it going? Because dare I ask about the edits? Because when we spoke on the podcast a few weeks ago, you said you were feeling they were manageable, but then when we met in person, you were wobbling a bit. How are you now?
I was wobbling and I had quite a big wobble last week. Yes, I was all sort of on the last podcast we did. I was all gung ho, wasn't I? And, oh, yes, it's all manageable and, just like office work 3 or 4 hours a day and I'm doing it and no, all nonsense. I mean, it wasn't nonsense at the time. That is how I felt at the time. I felt it was manageable because I always start by doing the easy bits first. And I just assumed or hoped and prayed that the difficult bits would somehow become easier once I tackled the easy bits. And they didn't. And you know what it's like when that deadline clock starts ticking and you begin to sort of lose confidence. Well, I do anyway. I get so far and then I think, oh no, I'm never going to be able to do that and that's not going to work. And I got myself into such a state. I really did. I started panicking about it. And I had a couple of not exactly sleepless nights, but nights where I kept waking up, think I did get some sleep, but I was waking up and it was preying on my mind. And I think it was the Friday morning. So it was, we're recording this on Monday, aren't we? So it was last Friday before, and Friday before, sorry. And I fired a desperate little email off to my editor. I didn't intend to send it actually. I just thought I'll compose an email and it'll make me feel better just writing how I feel. And I won't necessarily send it, but I might send it. I'll have a think about it. And I sent it off too soon. You know what happens when you're a bit tired? I
Oh,
just.
send. Yeah.
So my poor editor, who's coming on in a few weeks, isn't she? She got this desperate little email from me. But was very supportive and offered a Zoom meeting and everything. But I said, well, she suggested, let's see how you get on over the weekend. and I told my agent as well. And funnily enough, it is true what they say: a problem shared is a problem halved,
Yeah.
because having having told them both how I was feeling and how worried and panicked I was about not being able to do these edits, suddenly it was like a weight had lifted,
Mm.
and the next 2 days I managed to solve all the problems I mean, whether I have solved them is another matter, because they haven't seen it yet. But I feel more confident about it now.
When's
But
your deadline?
Monday the 17th next
It's
week.
quite short, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is quite short. I mean, I guess if I can't meet that, then that's okay. We can delay it, but that would mean a publication date that we want sort of having to be put forward, or put
Mm.
back rather. So, I mean, it's possible that I will spend longer doing them. I think it all depends how much they like what the second
Yeah.
version of it. So I'm not going to worry too much, because if it's not right and I need to spend longer, then of course that will happen. I do like to meet deadlines, and when I can't, I feel really desperate. Is
Yeah.
that how it is with you with edits? Do you find edits really tough?
Yes, I am the same as you completely. And I'm also someone who likes to meet my deadline. And if anything, get it in a day or a week before. It's like, hey, yes, I've done it, which isn't always possible. Yeah, I do the same. I write a list of everything, the little stuff and then the big stuff. And I tick off the little things to make myself feel good. And then the big, I kind of just dive in. And it's almost like there's these balls in the air of all the big things, and I just hope that unconsciously I'm sort of fixing them all without thinking about anything too much. And I think if you try and focus on one thing, all the other balls drop. So I just try, and that's basically my life. I just try and just juggle everything a bit. Yeah, I'm the same as you, definitely. There's no easy way, is there, to do edits?
There isn't, and I think this time, I mean, I know we say this. We talked about this on our walk, actually, didn't we, with Jack? That we always say, "Oh, this is the worst it's ever been. This is the most trouble I've ever had," and actually, it's probably the same for all the novels. But I don't know. Maybe that is what it's like, and we forget the pain of the last process.
Yes, could
Maybe
be.
it's a bit like
I
childbirth. Do you
was just going to
think you
say
can?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you forget the pain,
Yeah.
because you so desperately want to write another one.
Yeah. Yes, I'm the same, definitely. And my book 3, which is out in September, I did 3 rounds of structural edits on that, and it was really hard. And I just have given my book 4 in to my editor last week, and I feel so excited and happy that it's off my plate, but at the same time feel a lot like, oh, I'm dreading what's going to come back from it, and will it be the same sort of level of editing again, or will I've done a bit better this time? It's so hard, isn't it, to know what's going to come back, and you've got that long wait now of waiting to find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that actually, book 4, because I saw your tweet saying book 4
Oh,
has now left the building, and I
yes.
wondered if you were dancing around.
I did for about 2 minutes, but I'm just trying to get, I'm doing a first draft of book 5, and I just want to get it done before my edits come back for book 4. So I'm trying to write quite a quick first draft this month, and then, yeah, the edits are coming back next month. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was thinking, a lot of writers say that you have to keep going, and whenever you've got a slack period, don't sort of take too much time off, get working on the next thing. And I don't know whether, for me, I don't know whether that's a good idea. I think I benefit from having a complete break. Once this book is done and the edits are done, I don't feel I can. I know I should launch straight into the next one, but I actually don't think I can. Not this time, anyway, because I've had such a funny old year. Well, we all have, haven't we?
Yeah.
That I feel I really do need a complete, downtime for at least a couple of weeks.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you feel like that?
No, I feel completely like I should have more time off. And I set, after book 4, I set myself the challenge of having 2 weeks off just to read. I had so many books to read, and just sort of let ideas flow. And on day 1 of that, I just started planning a new book. I was like, I'm going to have to write this book. And by the end of the week, I just was all in. So it's,
Ah,
I think I don't mean to, but I do enjoy the first draft process. So I do throw myself in too quickly, I think.
Yeah, and having said that, I'm already, although I haven't actually got a plot idea, I've got a sort of, I think I told you already, I've got a setting idea for my next
Yeah,
one. And that is ticking away in my brain. And I
that's
think as soon as I
exciting.
know what to do with that setting and who to put in it, I think I'll be off again.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, with all the different things that we do? And it does make me think, how do you do it if you've got multiple projects on the go and all these people who juggle so much? You and I, we don't work at the same time, and we're quite lucky. We're very lucky.
They're
How
very
people
lucky.
do it with all these other things. It can be such a juggling act, I think. And especially for those who, as I said, write more than one genre or more than one book, which is what we're talking about today, really, a bit, isn't it, with our topic, which is hybrid authors, how to be a hybrid author, which neither of us can talk about at all, because frankly, the thought of doing any marketing myself or any of the huge workload that goes into promoting a book scares me silly. So I have never, always completely avoided it. But luckily, we have two fantastic guests coming on the show, who are both incredibly talented and hardworking authors, and they are Mel Sherratt and Caroline Mitchell.
Hello and welcome, Mel Sherratt and Caroline Mitchell to In Suspense. It's a delight to have you on with us. Thank you for coming.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
And we are going to start by introducing you both properly. So I'll start by giving Mel's biography, and then we'll go on and you can tell us a little bit about your book. Okay, so Mel Sherratt is the internationally best-selling author of 15 novels, 15 crime novels, and 5 novels under her pen name Marcy Steele, selling over 1.7 million copies. Shortlisted for the CWA Dagger in the Library Award, she has also been named as one of her hometown's top 100 influential people for the past 4 years. And that's, I think it's Stoke-on-Trent, isn't it?
It is, yes.
It is, yeah. Is that where Robbie Williams comes from?
It is, yes.
Oh, you and Robbie, yeah.
I've never met Robbie, but I know his dad. It's my claim to fame.
Previous to independently publishing 10 novels and working alongside publishers as a hybrid author, Mel worked for Stoke-on-Trent City Council, first as a housing officer and then a training and development consultant in adult social care. Mel's next novel, Invisible Victim, will be out in June this year. So Mel, can you tell us a little bit about Invisible Victim?
I can, yes. It's a new direction for me. I've been doing police procedurals for quite a while now, and I've always loved the psychological side of things. And when I very first started, one of my first books was called Watching Over You. That was psychological suspense, and I've always wanted to do that since. So I've decided to have a go at it this time. And this was an idea that I'd had for quite maybe 2-3 years in the back of my mind. You know how you've got all these ideas that come forward. So it starts with a woman called Eva, and she's a journalist, and she's been working on a feature article for the past 4 or 5 months because women have been disappearing in the city, and they've gone missing for 10 days. They've basically had the same experience where they've been naked in a room in a cellar. They've had no food, no contact with anybody, so they don't know who's kidnapped them. And then they've been let free after 10 days. So she's interviewed 3 of the ladies, and the 4th victim never came home. And she wakes up, Eva does, one morning, talking to her husband about going to work. Off she goes, and then the next thing she knows, she's waking up in the cellar herself. She is the next victim, and she realises that she needs to befriend her captive to get out. So basically, that's it.
Wow. Got goosebumps.
Sorry?
I've got goosebumps.
Oh, good. I loved writing it. I absolutely loved the darker sides of it, but it was quite a good story to get into both characters' minds as well, and the whys, and her trying to figure out how she needed to work with him to get out.
Wow, I can't wait to read that one.
Thank you.
It sounds...
It's a brilliant book. I was just saying, it's a brilliant book. I've read it. I was very lucky to read an early copy, and yeah, I did have goosebumps.
Oh, yes, I bet. And on to Caroline. So I'm going to read your bio now. So Caroline Mitchell is a New York Times, USA Today, and Amazon #1 best-selling author. Influenced by authors such as Stephen King and Dean Koontz, Caroline enjoys writing her own brand of creepy crime, from twisty psychological thrillers to dark crime series with authentic and gritty storylines. Excuse me. Her books have won first place as Best Psychological Thriller in the US Reader's Favorite Awards, been shortlisted for the International Thriller Awards in New York, and been shortlisted for Best Procedural in the Killer Nashville Awards. Her crime thriller Truth and Lies is a #1 New York Times bestseller and has been optioned for TV. So Caroline, your next book that was just the most recent book was Flesh and Blood, I believe, which was
Yes.
out last month. Could you tell us a little bit about Flesh and Blood, please?
Yeah, Flesh and Blood is the 4th in the D.I. Amy Winter series, and basically the series is its overreaching arc that Amy Winter discovers that she was adopted as a child and her parents are real-life serial killers, the beasts of Brentwood. And she kind of, throughout the series, she struggles with knowing that there's blood of serial killers run through her veins. And each book, it progresses how she manages with that struggle and wondering about who she is and what attracts her to dealing with serial killers. And she's kind of on that line between dark and light, wondering where she fits in the world. But Flesh and Blood, I love the cover because it has the sea on it. They're normally based in Notting Hill, these books, but I wanted to base Flesh and Blood in Clacton-on-Sea because that's where I used to work in CID. And I just have a lot of fond memories of it. And I thought it'd be great fun to bring Amy and her team down to Clacton. And it starts with these string of suicides. People are washing up in seaside resorts. And this latest suicide is from one of their own. It's from a police officer who's allegedly jumped off the end of Clacton Pier. But as Amy and her team progresses the investigation, it's very dark and sinister, and not all is what it seems.
Ooh.
That does sound dark. Clacton will never be the same again.
It was great. I really enjoyed writing it.
I bet. Now, since our topic today is how to be a hybrid author, we thought we'd start with you, Mel. If you we'd like a sort of working definition of what you understand by hybrid author, because there's bound to be some listeners out there who aren't quite sure what that means and what that entails. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, my understanding of it is that I am a hybrid author because I self-publish myself, and I also work with the publisher alongside and juggle them as well as I can. So I don't know whether a hybrid actually means a traditional publisher or a digital publisher as well as myself, or I've worked along with both of them. So that's my understanding. You work side by side and you do something yourself as well.
I see. And what do you think are the advantages of being a hybrid author, or the disadvantages? You know, how does it pan out?
For me personally, I have no disadvantages. I think it's great to do both of them. I feel like I have two teams. I have my publishing team who literally, I write the words, they go away and do every single thing. I do the copy edits and everything, but they do all the marketing, they do all the sales, they put the books up. But I actually like doing that myself in a small way. I couldn't do in a big way, but because I started off self-publishing, I do like to have that bit of control myself. But also, it's nice to be able to do it yourself. So I have my own teams. I have my own editor, my own proofreader, my own copy editor, book cover designer, and then I have to do that myself. But the downside for me personally is that there's a lot of self in self-publishing. So you have to have a lot of time to do it. So if you're working full time, which is what I used to do before, there's no way I would have been able to fit it in. But now I can juggle them about. I have schedules from both of them, and then work them project management that way.
Gosh, yeah, no, that does sound a lot of work. But as you say, it gives you that element of control, which is good, isn't it?
Yes, and I'm full time, so I can I can do it now and can fit it all in. I can fit it a lot better than I used to do, put it that way. I mean, I don't work at night times and a lot of weekends like I used to do, but I think that's because I've written so many books now. Same with Caroline, we know what we're supposed to be doing in a book, and you take away a lot of the earlier problems of like cutting 10,000 words and adding something else. So you can schedule it in quite well.
Well, it sounds like such a juggling act. Your story's a little bit different, Caroline, isn't it? So, because you, I think, if I'm right, started your career in self-publishing, and you self-published a non-fiction book, and then you went on. That's how you started your publication journey. So, do you want to tell us about how you got into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I was working full time in the police when I started writing, and I have 4 small kids at home, and it was very, very busy time of my life because I worked long hours as well. And I self-published a book about something that happened to us called Paranormal Intruder, which was like a supernatural experience we had. I won't go into huge detail about it, but a lot of people were asking me about it. I was in the police at the time, and word got round and everyone wanted to know. My husband said, look, why don't you just write a book about it and then put it out there, and anyone who wants to read it can just get a copy, just self-publish it. I wasn't taking it very, very seriously at the time. But I wanted to do my best with it, having said that. So I did hire an editor to help me, and I wrote this book and I self-published it, and I learned so much about the industry while I was doing it. And I found that once it was written and out there, I kind of really enjoyed the experience of sitting down to write, and it felt like there was a big hole, there was a big gap. So I thought, I know, I'm going to write a fiction novel about a police detective who has experience in dealing with supernatural occurrences. Of course, they say, write what you know, and that certainly was the case. So I wrote my Jennifer Knight series and got published by a digital publisher, Bookouture. But I do think that the self-publishing experience was invaluable because, as you say, I learned so much about the market, and I met so many contacts, and I met Mel obviously as well. I'm sure we'll be talking about at some point. But it did stand to me, and I do recommend, as a great insight. But hats off to anyone who self-publishes full time. I think it's great if you can do it, but yeah, it is hugely time-consuming. Writing is just such a small part of that. There's so much else, so many other things involved, and I have the utmost admiration for anyone who can do it full time.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Take all the other stuff takes you away from the bit that you started doing. You love doing it, the creativity and the writing itself. But I think you've got some amazing news, haven't you, Caroline? An announcement that you made on social media very recently.
You can tell I'm all excited. I'm still buzzing with it. I mean, I've written 14 books now, but you know what? It never gets stale and it never gets old. And I think it's always important to enjoy the process. And last year in lockdown, I wrote a book, and it was something I've always wanted to write. It's called The Midnight Man, which is a really creepy thriller. I love things with a little hint of the paranormal, a bit like C.J. Tudor type writing, or like the Whisper Man type thing. And I've been really wanting to write it for ages. And so I wrote the book. Sorry, my dog's making a bit of noise there. I wrote the book, and then kind of everything aligned and everything came together because my editor, who I'd worked with for years, Jen Snellgrove, who I absolutely adore, she left my current publishers, and I was devastated because I really love working with her. So then I found out that she'd gone to a new digital publishers named Embla, who are with Bonnier, who, owned by Bonnier. And of course, that was being run by Emily Mariner, who also worked in Amazon Publishing and who's an absolute legend in the publishing world. And they were really interested in it. So I was really excited, and all went together, and my agent, and I got a 2-book deal. So that's due out in October. So yeah, I've been sitting on that news for ages. It's been really hard. As Mel would know, I kept putting things down on Facebook going, I got to share news. Oh, not today. Oh, I'm going to share news every single day. Like, it's taken so long, and I was be fed up here in the end.
Oh, brilliant. Congratulations.
Thanks. That's great.
Yeah, huge congratulations. That's so exciting. I'm really looking forward to reading that as well when it comes out. Now, Mel, I think I'm right in saying that you had 4 books with Thomas and Mercer with Amazon Publishing, and that you've recently had the rights back, and you're planning now to self-publish them with new covers. Can you talk us through that process and what made you decide to do that, and how easy was it to get your rights back?
I've probably got a different story behind, but last year I decided to part company with my agent and my publisher. So it was a big thing for me to get those books back, but also because they were the very first books I wrote, I was emulating a lot of authors and wanted to put my own voice back in them. They were very sweary, they were very, very sexy, very raunchy, and my voice has completely changed to how I want to be now. So I wanted to get those books back. Obviously they weren't selling as well, even though Thomas and Mercer do put you in quite a bit of promotion. They were 6-7 years old, and I at the time was going to perhaps continue with the Ali Shenton series. So I thought, if I get those books back, I can market them myself and put them out there. Since then though, I've really enjoyed getting them to, I suppose, my standard now, but I have learnt a lot. I can tell you, if you go back to your first books, it's quite daunting to go back and do them. But I realised then that I didn't want to do police procedurals, and then so I've got 3 in a trilogy that that I have actually put out now, and I've done the final one, which is Watching Over You, which is a psychological thriller that went out last week, and that doing that one 4th made me realise that is definitely where I want to go in the future. So I will still carry on with the psychological suspense. So in that way, it was quite a good experience to do. It took a lot of time off, but I feel like I'm quite proud of them now, and perhaps I wasn't before, because they were, I suppose, when I was learning, one of the main things I did was, because I talk about working class characters, I put a lot of swearing in, thinking that's what they do, and thinking that was how stereotypical I could make those characters. And now I've realised, obviously, I don't need the swearing. I can talk about the characters, and I've learned how to describe people without that. So it was nice. So the stories are exactly the same. They're just toned down a bit, shall I say.
That's so brave, because I don't think I could go back and look at some of the first books that I wrote and I think I would just cringe, and to be able to do that is so amazing.
Yeah.
And I think you work with Bookshare as well, don't you? And you've got your self-publishing. So can you talk us through, because you said about how much work it takes other than just writing the books. So how do you juggle everything? Like, do you have certain days that you do for writing, or how do you divide your time up?
Basically, whatever I've got contracted out to other publishers is my first priority, because I've obviously got their deadlines to go by. So what I tend to do is fit in what I'm doing with them. I tend to have a full structure schedule when I start with them, so I will know when I'm going to be copy editing, line editing, proofreading. So I fit all that into my diary, and then I fit the other things around it, because it's nice to have a palette change as well, to go to a totally different book. But also then I know that I don't ever put anything out in self-publishing or tell anybody about it until I know that I've got a definite date that I can publish it by. So in the meantime, if something does, like for instance, I've just written 60,000 words of my next book, realised I didn't like it. It's totally different than what I want. So I've now got 6 weeks to write the next book. And I've been wanting to write this next book for ages, but that's the sort of thing that you have to think about. So my self-publishing then will go by the by until I can literally say, yes, that's the date's done, and it will go out. So I only write one at a time. So as one's going back, probably the same as yourselves, as one going back, copy edits are coming for the other one, and that's the way I work it like that.
It's impressive.
It is impressive, and you're incredibly organised as well, aren't you, Caroline? You have to be. I mean, I read somewhere that well, you at one point you were contracted to bring out 1 book every 6 months with Bookshare, as well as being a full-time detective constable with a family of 4. I mean, I think on your website you've written about a day in the life of an author, which if people haven't read, they should read, because it does give an insight. I mean, how do you manage to keep so organised?
Yeah, I think well, I'm currently writing, I'm back to writing 2 books a year. At one stage I wrote 3 a year, but again, Mel is prolific as well, so she's probably does it the same way as me, in that you have to schedule everything. You've got to put time aside for everything. I have a word count thing. Scrivener, you're probably well aware, Scrivener, just software, and it's great. It does my word count, and I try and hit my word count every day, and if I don't, it redoes it for the next day, so I know exactly where I'm behind. So it is about just keeping on top of everything. And I think when I left the police, it was a lot easier. And when I was working, I used to get up at 5:30 every morning. I'd get the train to Chelmsford, so I'd sit for an hour on the train and write. That was my writing time, and I'd write coming home on the train as well. And people used to be looking over my shoulder and get all sorts of strange looks. But I scheduled it in just every spare minute I could. But yeah, when I left, it just took a while to get used to having that free time, but still the work ethos was there, because I was used to working really long hours, and I was 9 years in the police, and they work really long hours, and I was on call and all sorts. So I just kept up with that work ethos. I just wanted to get a few books under my belt so I could then have a nice backlist which I feel is important for authors, especially when you're working, writing for a living as well. It's very important to have that backlist built up quite quickly. And I did that. I love being a digital author. I don't think I'd have the patience now to be a traditionally published author alone, that I'd have to wait a year, because I love the excitement of a book coming out every 6 months. You know, I think it's great to have something new to look forward to. And I don't think you sacrifice the quality if you write just longer hours. Obviously, you have to put in the time to write, which I do. I carry my laptop everywhere. It's basically a part of me, and I write all the time. So I have no problem fitting it in, but it's great. It's great fun.
Very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did, what you said about carrying your laptop everywhere, I definitely can relate to that, because I had on Saturday, I had the football run, I took my laptop, I then took the kids to this climbing centre, I had my laptop, it came to horse riding with me, just all Saturday, it was just me and my laptop. So I know what you mean. It's just getting those words down is so important.
That's how we fit everything in. That's how you fit yours in, and that's how we fit ours in. Your little moments, like you say, 10 minutes. If I'm in the dentist, when we used to be able to go to the dentist, I used to sit there and read all my emails, because it was always something that you could do, or take a laptop with me, because you just fit it in as and when you can.
We never totally switch off, do we?
You don't, because social media is such a big part of it as well, isn't it? You've got Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and you know, I love hearing from readers, but then again, it's trying to keep up with everything and not wanting to miss anyone. So that's I'm often doing, and like I say, it's snatched moments, just catching up there. But it's great.
Oh, well, I've got nothing but admiration for you two, because I mean, I find it difficult enough bringing out one novel a year. I really do, and so hats off to you both. You're incredible. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give, do you think, if there was someone who was looking to go into indie publishing or to become a hybrid author? How would you suggest that they go about it, and what's is it harder now than it was like 10 years ago with all the changes?
I think I started off as self-publishing because I couldn't get a traditional deal, so it was totally different for me back then. And even now, if somebody's starting now, it is hugely different than when it was before. I'm not quite sure if I'd be able to hack it starting now, because I'm obviously visible on my platform, and I've carried that through. I think it's definitely, you can do it, because some people just put one book out self-published and they just shoot up there, and then again they carry on from there. Others will have 10 books out, 5 books out. It depends on the individual how long they'll keep plugging at it. But I suppose with one of the traditional things that you need to look at is your competitiveness clauses. If you've got a clause in your contract that says that you can't do it, you can't do it. So I've never had that clause, and every contract that I've had written, I've had my agent would put in that I can self-publish the estate series, for example, or something alongside, to make sure that I'd got that you know, if I ever did want to go back to doing it full time, I can still do it. And some people, some of the contracts will basically say you cannot publish with anybody else alongside us, even and if you've got a 2-book contract and you can't do that for 2 or 3 years, you've got to, I suppose, look at your income then and make sure that you've got, you know, enough coming in, and figure out whether it's best for you to go indie or whether it's best for you to go with a traditional publisher.
Yeah, I can see it. It's great advice, isn't it? Because I was thinking about in the contracts they say see your next works as well. They want first dibs, don't they, as well, which can even just cause problems if you're writing in multiple genres, and if you're writing for more than one publisher, that must cause a real problem as well, I imagine.
Yeah, my contracts, like I said, they were written that you could, like, for instance, my Marty Steele is obviously totally separate, so that would be okay. But like Mel Sherratt's contracts would be like, you could not take this character forward into another series, but you can continue writing crime novels.
Yeah.
And to be fair, if I was, you know, the publishers that I've worked with, I would be loyal to. If I had wanted to carry on with the series, I wouldn't have done it until the time had lapsed, because to me, if you're with a publisher, you need to give it your all, as well as they're giving it to you. So it's still, like you say, another bit of a juggling act to do a bit of both.
Yeah. And Caroline, you've got so much great advice on your website. And what do you think is the single most important thing in order to self-publish successfully?
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because there's so much advice to give. I think is to be as professional as you can, even if it's something you just want to try out at the start, just to do as good a job as you can with it. Think of your cover as your shop front, and you're competing with all these brilliant shops out there. I mean, and go online and look at other covers and see what they look like, see what you're competing with. So just do the very best you can within your budget. You know, get a really, really good cover done. If you can afford to hire an editor or work with someone who will, you know, help you out, then do that. Just make it the very best it can be, because you never know where it'll lead. Look at me, I didn't think I'd be giving up my job in the police to write full time. So yeah, give it your very best shot.
That's really good advice, that the professionalism and getting in extra help, paying for help, you know, like editorial help and a proper cover designer, because I think that makes the difference, doesn't it, between sort of someone who just sort of sticks a book out there and expects it to sort of sell, when actually that doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah,
so that's really good advice. Yeah,
it's hugely competitive. Sorry, and you got to stand out to you know, it's sink or swim really. Once you go on and put it up there, you can't really make it, you know, it's your first impression that counts. So you have to be ultra competitive and get out there. The hardest thing though, of course, when you've written it and it's ready, you're so impatient, aren't you? You just can't wait to put it out there and having to wait for edits and everything. But it's worth it. It's worth to get it right.
Absolutely. Should we talk a little bit about marketing now? Because we were wondering, you know, how you know what's the best area to spend your money on, you know, because, you know, with all the sort of particularly Facebook advertising, they change their rules and things so often, don't they? How do you keep on top of that? And how do you sort of work out where best to spend your marketing budget? Should we start now?
Probably going to be quite different, because I don't have a marketing budget, and I don't think Caroline does either. I don't market. Basically, I don't do any more marketing. I dabbled a few years back, and I sort of broke even with it, which was quite okay. But I think because I've got so many books, the books will market themselves, which is probably, you know, the wrong thing to say for somebody who's starting off. But the best thing, I suppose, the advice I could say is to stalk an author, stalk a self-published author that you really like their books and the genre that you want to read, and see what they do. Have a look at their Facebook ads, have a look at where they are advertising, read all their books and see what hints that you can pick up of like hooks to make a series work and things like that. The only marketing, like I said, I've ever done is probably networking. The networking bit is by far the best thing that I've ever done in my life. And to go to places like Harrogate and meet people face to face, they are the ones that actually get the books out there, and work with the book bloggers. The book bloggers are phenomenal for getting you out there. It's visibility at the end of the day that you need. The BookBub is the one that most people like. Very hard to get one, but that can rocket you up. But they don't work as well as they used to do, because I suppose it's the same with everything. Facebook is saturated, Twitter is saturated, Amazon Books, Kindle is saturated, so it's just trying to get yourself seen. So if you can think of an angle where you can, if for instance, if your book, like I've got a social worker in mine or a housing officer in mine, I could probably give you 20 housing officer stories that you could go off and do that. Same with Caroline with the police, some of the funnier stories. I think it's just thinking of a different angle that somebody else has got, and looking after your readers as well. That's another thing. Newsletter is probably my best form of marketing.
Is there anything you want to add to that, Caroline, or do you agree?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with Mel. I love going out and meeting people and networking. They're the people that you will remember, that will stick in your mind. Also, you can, if you can't get out to events, you can do online networking, such as Facebook groups. And there's some brilliant, like the book club, it's called, on Facebook, and there's loads of crime book club. There's great private Facebook groups that you can join, and they're so supportive. But obviously don't go straight in and spam. Take your time, get to know people, help other people out, and it's in that helping other people that it'll then come back to you. And that's a great way of doing it. It obviously can take up a lot of time, but it's fun as well. It's nice to meet people who are in the same boat as you and meet the lovely book bloggers. And I have to say, the book bloggers have been instrumental in me getting anywhere, especially when I started Bookature, and that was a new imprint, and they really got behind it. I published around the same time as Angie Marsden's, who's done phenomenally well, but the book bloggers were a massive part of that, and they do that for free. It's a labor of love. They spread the word about your books because, you know, that's their thing and they enjoy it, and I can't praise them highly enough. They're brilliant people, so that's my advice.
I suppose
that's great advice.
Sorry, I suppose as well, I started off writing a blog, I had a book blog myself, and it was called High Heels and Book Deals, and I used to interview authors on there and do my own book reviews on there, and that was my way of networking at the time, to get to know all the publicists, and they used to send the proofs to me. And I know they do say that blogging is a bit dead now, but I disagree. I'd love to find more time to get to know my readers on my blog, but I don't have that time. But as a way of starting off, I think it's a really good idea to do something that brings an audience to you, about book reviews, about interviewing people, and even just a few little posts on your own writing. That's exactly what I did. And when I self-published Taunting the Dead, it had literally been 12 years of rejection from traditional publishers. That book was the third book to go to acquisition meetings. It had been rejected by them all, and I knew all these people now because I've been networking with them, and it was a bit of a nightmare, but I knew I could do something with that book. And the Kindle had just come out. I thought, I'm not missing my opportunity. And I still remember, because it's 10 years this year, 8th of December 2011, I put a blog post out on that blog and just said, I'm going to go for it. I've had a cover designed, this is what I'm doing, and it was out. And that's what I think that helped me, because I'd been so, like you say, Caroline says, if you help people, people will help you. So all those authors that I'd done all them interviews for were like, oh, I'm curious about that, 99 pence. Let's go and have a look at it. And then they actually liked it. So it was a big snowball that carried on from there. And I think it's just about trying different things as well. So blogging for me was one of the real good things that started me off. And then you will see a lot of the book bloggers now are writing their own books and getting their own books published, because we're all in this big industry together. So that could be another way of getting a bit of indirect marketing.
And Mel knows everybody. And sorry, my dog is snoring in the background. I don't know if you can hear him. It's not me, it's my dog. But, I must be boring. But Mel knows everyone. You know, we go to events all the time, and she's like the popular kid in school, and she knows everyone, and it's like, who's that? And she's so popular, it's amazing. It's really good, very inspirational.
I just remembered that I think I followed you because I was on Twitter almost, not exactly when it started, but at the very beginning, and I think I followed you right back then, Mel. And so I've been aware of you and that's what it is. It's sheer dedication. Well, both of you, but sheer dedication and plugging away, and as you say, building those networks, and not all about read my book.
Yeah.
Here, like some people just sort of, my book's on sale. But that's not enough, is it? You've got to engage with people, which you
I mean, when I was doing the blog as well, I was working full time, and I've got probably 10-20 hours a week that I was working on the blog. I posted every single day, and it was a pure labour of love, but I loved it, and it did bring that audience to me, and it got me into the actual, the environment that I needed to be in. And also when you're rejected, it's really hard, isn't it? So somebody was always there to say, oh, chin up, you'll get there, you'll do it. And it was a really nice atmosphere, and something that I grew, I think, alongside the blog.
It's so interesting that you say you don't have a marketing budget, because one of my questions was about the marketing, because there is a real divide, I think, when I've been looking on some of our author groups, on some traditional authors are also doing their own marketing as alongside their publisher. And I mean, it's one of those things that I sort of grapple with, do I leave it up to them? Am I supposed to be doing it? But from what you're saying, it sounds a lot like, networking's the way forward for everyone, rather than the marketing, which is so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that is interesting. Well, we usually ask now what our guests are reading. I haven't missed anything out, have I? No, that's right. So we ask what our guests are reading at the moment, or what you have been reading recently. Do you want to start with you, Caroline? I'm looking over here, but I'm aware that on everybody else's screen, you're in probably a different place.
Well, I'm reading The Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. I always have the Stephen King book on the go, because I absolutely love him. I read Mel's book, which is absolutely brilliant, Invisible Victim, and I'm going to read Mark Edwards' The Hollows, which is on my list, which I'm also a brilliant author. I'm really looking forward to reading. But I love those kind of I like dark fiction. Yes,
he's another author that's really sort of worked so hard, hasn't he, to get where he is, and made a tremendous success. Yeah.
Definitely.
What about you, Mel? What are you reading at the moment?
Well, funnily enough, I've gone back to a book that I've read before for research for my next book, and that was Behind Closed Doors, B.A. Paris. And I absolutely adored it the second time. And I think I read it, you read it so quick when you first read it, don't you? I read it so long ago that when I went back to it, I thought, that is so clever, really, really, really clever. And I'm at the moment, I'm 80% through Safe from Harm, which is a new book out by Leah Mercy. And as I know, it is Tally Rowland. And it's coming out a couple of days before mine. She's just gone with Pikachu as well. And I have to say, I'm 80% through it, and I was literally floored by the chapter I read before I went to bed last night. I am so invested in that character now with what she's done. She's just taken me up straight up to it without boom, and I'm like, I can't wait to get back to it. So there you go.
What about you, Laurie?
Oh, well, I mentioned last week Emma Curtis's book, Invite Me In, which I read this week, which was brilliant. All the chills, everything you want from that psychological suspense. So a big recommendation for me. I also finished last night All the Fun of the Fair, which we showed a few months ago, didn't we, on the podcast? And that's just an absolute triumph by Caroline Hulse. So another one to watch. That's out in July. And then I have got to read The Perfect Lie by Jo Spain. That came through the door. And also I've got, thanks to Alison Barrow, Tall Bones as well. So, by Anna Bailey, which I am very excited to read as well. So they're my ones. What about you, Leslie?
Well, I haven't been doing as much reading as I should have been lately because I've been so immersed in my edits. I don't know about you guys, when I'm really, really busy, I find that the reading has to take a back seat. I'd like to be one of these people who read every day, and I normally am, but at the moment I just haven't got the bandwidth for it. But I've been working my way through the haul I bought recently from the Locked Up Festival. So I'm reading I've started a book, The Game by Luca Vesto, which I'm really enjoying, and also The Postscript Murders, Ellie Griffiths, which I've heard really good things about. So those two are on my bedside table at the moment. But I also want to read the Jo Spain, because I think she may be coming on, mightn't she, on our
Yes.
podcast, I think. Yeah. So that's exciting. So we've all got lots of books on the go. And I think have we come to the fun bit now,
Yes.
Laurie? Is
You
that
go with it. Yes.
Okay. So we've come to the fun part of the show. So yeah, we know that you two are firm friends, and I think that you met. I think Caroline told me once that you both met at a festival. Is that correct? Yeah. And so we were wondering, what's the most fun writing festival or event or panel appearance you've been to, and why? Or what's the most fun and giggles you've had at any festival during what is called a working holiday?
Well, if I can start that, I first met Mel at the London Book Fair, and she was so lovely to me. I was a complete unknown, and I emailed her, and because she'd been a probation officer, I felt like a connection, because I thought, well, I was police, she's ex-probation, and I sent her an email, and she was so lovely, bless her. And so she said, I'll be at London Book Fair, come and see me. So I dressed up in my best and I went off to London Book Fair. It was the first time I was anywhere. And I saw her on stage, and I was just in awe, because I was a big fan of Mel's books as well. I was like, I just read one of her latest books, and I was just totally fangirling her. And she was up on the stage, and she's being interviewed, and there's people waiting with their books to be signed, and I'm standing there, and then I noticed we're wearing the same clothes, which I thought, oh gosh, okay, we're obviously in tune here, with the same color jackets, the same everything. And so she was standing there, and I kind of, she caught my eye, and I looked at her, and she went like this to me, and I'm like, she's not waving at me, is she? And I kind of went like, looking behind me, and she was. So she's so lovely. And after she'd finished signing all her books, she came and talked to me, and we kind of clicked since then, didn't we, Mel? And it's been brilliant ever since. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, we did. I think we have the most fun at Harrogate, though. Harrogate is just amazing. It's just one of those events where we just we've got a great little team now, haven't we? We literally, I'll say, oh, there's such and such, and Caroline will say, I'll say hello, and Caroline will say, oh, do you want a photograph, Mal? Say yes, and then I'll say, oh, do you want a photograph? So we end up with all the photographs, apart from when I forget, when I go really fangirling over Ian Rankin. I totally forgot.
You didn't do it then.
Ian Rankin. We had Harlan Coben last year, didn't we? It was really, really good.
We're very smooth. We just swoop in. We've got no shame. Oh, hang on, there's a celeb, right? Swoop in, click. they're like days. They don't know what's going on. We've already got our photos. We're fine. Like, okay, thanks, bye.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, we do enjoy the festivals.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever any one that I've enjoyed more than others, but to be fair, Caroline makes my festivals for me because we never stop laughing. We talk books, we just talk all night, don't we? And it's just or we shop. That's one of the other things. And we just have so much fun together. It's just wonderful.
I remember going out one night and we had a little bit too many cocktails, and I remember being on my hands and knees outside the hotel room door. Do you remember? And we were collapsed in giggles and we couldn't get up, and I was trying to get the key, and oh gosh, disgraceful behaviour, disgraceful.
We were eating cake. We pinched some of the cake from I have to say, one of the events we went to was our agent's Christmas party, and we came back from that, and we pockets were full of food and everything, and we spread them all out on the bed, and apparently we were talking to Callie Taylor, who was upstairs, and we got a bottle of champagne, and we were talking on Facebook in a group, and we were saying, come downstairs, and she was saying, no, I'm all right now. And we were saying, oh, we've got champagne, we've got chocolates, we've got all
cheese,
and I said, I've even got a knife and fork, and she says, have you pinched that? I said, no, I pinched that off Virgin Trains. I didn't realise they were proper cutlery. I thought they were plastic, and I bag for that now. And somebody joined, I think it was Angela Clark, and just says, this is the most hilarious conversation I have ever listened into. So we do have some good conversations.
We do. It's long overdue, though. It's very long overdue.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
You know, I remember bumping into you two. You probably don't remember because I don't
do.
Do you?
Yeah.
It was in a hotel in Harrogate, wasn't it? And you two were together, and I remember thinking, oh, I wish I had a writing pal that I could be with. Because it was back in the early days, and I sort of felt a bit lonely.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
So
it gives
nice
a lot of
to see
confidence. When there's two of you, you feel like you can go over and speak to people, and it's just that much different when you've got somebody with you.
Yeah. Oh gosh, we could have had a whole episode on fun festivals. We normally answer this as well. I'm not sure we can beat that, can we, Laurie?
They're one of the best
I haven't even got a story. I've only been to Harrogate once, so I was like really scraping the barrel for anything I could give. So I think you guys have done a fantastic job.
What's that, Mel?
It was when we went to Martina Cole's 25th party. That was incredible. We got invited by Martina to go, and we couldn't believe it. We were going to London at this party, swanky hotel. It was so impressive, wasn't it? We just got drunk again, but it was really, really, really good, wasn't it? We couldn't believe it.
And the chap who plays Ken Dingle in Emmerdale was on the deck, so I'm a big Emmerdale fan. So again, I did the swoop. I was so drunk, and I looked so drunk in the photo. I had to go back to him and say, "I'm sorry, can I have another one, please?" Put my chin up this time and try to look normal. So yeah, that's what we do.
There's a pattern emerging here, isn't there? And I think it involves alcohol.
Yeah, but that's the only time we go out. That's the problem. Yeah, so we have to enjoy it and make the most. We work so hard, and I think we enjoy it.
Oh, well, I think my best memory of Harrogate was meeting up with the savvy authors, and that's where, was that where I met you for the first time, Laurie? I know I'd met you before then, hadn't I think?
Oh, I can't even, it's all such a blur. I think that's the problem, because like you say, we don't go out that much, and then it's all just so intense, isn't it? And alcohol was involved, and I had real trouble. People are always like, oh, I think we've met before, and I was like, oh, yes, we have, and I'm like, got no recollection of having met this person.
I think we had met, but it was a long while ago, and it was in Colchester, and so that was the first proper meeting, I think, where we actually got to know each other.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's all a blur, but yeah, I can't wait for this Harrogate. Fingers crossed that it's on. So I think it's going to be pretty wild, because I think we've all been so desperate for it that
and we're allowed to hug now. Apparently, somebody was saying you can hug people now. I'm not sure we can quite go back to. I'll feel a bit wary about hugging people.
Yeah, we can hug next week. We'll probably get arrested if we go to Harrogate, though, because we'll all be so excited.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's time for our quick fire round now. So I'm just going to fire some questions off, and you just have to throw the first answer you have back at me, and we're going to do it together, so you just shout your answers as quickly as you can. All right, so the first one is tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Paperback or Kindle?
Paperback.
Do you write at a desk or on the sofa?
Both.
Yes.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Dog.
Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Sweet.
Netflix or Sky?
Netflix.
Netflix.
Would you rather bike, run or swim?
Run.
Run.
And finally, is it book festival weekend or writing retreat with a friend?
Oh, book festival with a friend.
And alcohol.
Yeah, cocktails.
Brilliant, well done. You're
thank
very, very in
you.
tune with your answers.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the show, you two. You've been such a laugh. You've been really good fun, and I mean, it really shows that you're good friends anyway. Because you just, you know, that's you could have talked all morning, all day about about different things. No, we've really enjoyed having you on, and I think our listeners and our watchers, whoever watches this on YouTube as well, will be very inspired, I think, by your hard work and perseverance and the amazing success that you've had. And we wish you all the best success with your forthcoming novels and new book deals, and with your extensive back catalogues as well. So well done.
Thanks
you
so much for having us.
Yes, you've both been so wonderful. Thank you so much. And on our next show, we are talking about the editing process with the very amazing Sherratt Adams, who is Leslie's editor at Transworld. So if you do have any questions for this amazing editor, do get in touch on YouTube or on Twitter and ask away. And let's hope Leslie's finished her edits by then, or it's going to be a little bit awkward for her. And in the meantime, don't forget to click on the bell and the like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can be the first to know when our new episodes come out. And also, if you can give us a rating on the Apple platform, we'd always be grateful for that as well. Which I think just leaves us with the final task of thanking everyone who's been watching and saying thank you for listening to
In Suspense.
Is that okay?
Didn't work.
Did we do it? No, dreadful.
Should we do it together? Let's try it again. Should we try it again with all of us?
All right, we'll try it again. Ready? Got with everyone ready. Thank you.
Join in with the In Suspense. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to In Suspense.
In Suspense.
Oh, such a face palm.
Oh, real pleasure to see you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Bye-bye.